Hey there, good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So it's a bit of a late start today. Well, not a late start, but a late video. Usually this would be out by noon, but I've been struggling with my back the last little while. Sometimes it's easier than other times, so I decided I would rest it a bit and do a few things and then just make the video a little bit later when I was able to actually sit down for any length of time. So I feel like I can do this video now, so that's what we're going to do. So we're here to do an episode of Battle of my Masterpiece albums. This will be episode number 7. I've done 6 so far, obviously. This one, I don't think this is as strong an episode as some of the other ones, but the albums are a bit closer, I think. So I'm just going to set up my my albums here and my notes, and we'll go. Sorry, I would have done it previously, but couldn't move the space to suit me the way I wanted it to. So anyways, this is a series of episodes that we're going to do. So there'll be 16 initial ones, 16 initial battles, because I have 61 masterpiece albums in my collection, my personal masterpieces. These are not the definitive masterpiece albums of the world, because if you were to put the definitive masterpiece albums by everybody's standard, probably just about every album would be on here. So we're doing 61, and so I broke it into 15 four album battles and 1 5 album battles. The final episode will have an extra album in it. So the albums that have been chosen for today's battle, just giving you the way they're stacked here. Styx's Equinox. I believe that was a 75 release. Led Zeppelin 3, I believe this was a 1970s release, maybe, 71. Guess I should put my glasses on, which I don't have on me. Oh, I do. Here we are. There we are. Yeah, 1970, I believe it was, yes. Led Zeppelin 3. Next one up is Van Halen's Fair Warning. This is 1981 release. And then the last one is from 1973, and this is Dark Side of the Moon from Pink Floyd. Now, if you're going by sales, obviously the Dark Side of the Moon one would wipe the rest of them off the map. However, we're not doing that. This is not a commercial endeavor, nor is this a most popular endeavor, nor is this even a comparison. These albums are not comparable to each other. I had somebody who I believe thought that's what I was doing. That's not the attempt. I was talking about the album and, of course, some of the things that the albums have in their notoriety is the amount of sales they've made, or the popularity of the album, or made the radio or didn't make the radio, or maybe they were successful or weren't, or maybe there was some weakness about them that weren't. But it's basically none of those things. It's about how I like the album still. How do they rank in my overall 61 masterpiece album? So the top album will go on to the semifinals. That's the way I've worked it. All 16 of the albums that finish first in the rankings will all go on to the semifinals. So that would mean 4 semifinals followed by 1 final. So if we do this every week until it's completed, it will take 21 weeks to complete. So, of course, some of these albums much different than others. Like in the case here, they're all fairly different to each other. So comparing them would be somewhat foolish. So I'm not really comparing them. I'm sorry if it comes across that way. That's not the case. So we're going to start with. So what I'm going to do here first is I'll talk about each of the albums, what I like, what I maybe don't like about them, just about how I generally feel about the album and why they're a masterpiece, maybe. And then I'll give you my rankings at the end. So the first one on the list is Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. This is a near perfection album as far as its storyline, the use of noises on it, the way in which the songs were selected and put together. It follows a really well crafted flow from beginning to end, using the noises in a lot of cases to tie the next song into the previous song, or the previous song into the next song, if you prefer. So this one has 10 songs on it. I do like almost it. Well, actually, I don't think there's anything on here I don't like. I think I like them all at different times. I've liked some of them more than others. It almost is like a one big song in some ways. It's like that. Probably the ones I like the most, the songs that stand out the most for me. Time, of course, with that absolute classic guitar solo, probably one of the greatest guitar solos in the history of rock music. On the Run, I've always liked a lot. I do like Speak and Breathe at the beginning too. They kind of start this off. You feel like you're starting off life at the beginning, and then Eclipse is the one that kind of ends it all. The other song I like a lot on here is Us and Them. There's something kind of spacey about it. Also kind of relaxing. This is an album I listen to sometimes when I just want to lie in the dark and listen. I did see Pink Floyd, Laser Floyd, sorry. I saw Laser Floyd at the planetarium in Toronto when they used to have a planetarium. Well, the planetarium itself is still there. They just haven't used it for decades now. But I did go to see Laser Floyd, and they played a lot of this album. And I just remember being like totally enthralled with it, even though I wasn't a Pink Floyd fan even then. So anyways, that's the first album on the selections. Next one up, Van Halen, Fair Warning. Definitely my favorite Van Halen album. I don't think it's really close. I think it's easily the favorite. The other albums I like quite a bit, but they don't come up to the standard here on this one for me. Some people would say Van Halen 1 from top to bottom has more radio friendly and great songs. That is true. I won't take that away. I just prefer this album. I think it has more of a polished feel to it, I guess. The top songs on here, Mean Street, Dirty Movies, Unchained, Hear About It Later, and Push Comes to Shove are all among my favorite Van Halen songs. Some of the weaker tracks here, I guess Sinner Swing belongs in with the top group as well. So the bottom three songs are the last three on the album. So This Is Love, Sunday Afternoon in the Park, and One Foot Out the Door. They're all okay. I don't dislike them or think they're annoying or anything like that. They just aren't in the same league as the first six tracks, which I think are probably the best run of songs by Van Halen on any of their albums. I like the heaviness of the album. I like that bluesy feel to it as well. Songs like Push Comes to Shove, which for a long time was my favorite track on here, but probably has been supplanted by Mean Street and Unchained and maybe Dirty Movies as well. So this is a really strong album by a fantastic band. But the band hasn't, it's kind of faded a bit with me over the years. I don't listen to them as much as I once did. I guess my taste in music becoming more prog oriented has left this band a little bit less than listened to over the last half dozen years or so. Next up, Led Zeppelin 3. Okay, so this particular album, put my glasses back on, is my favorite Led Zeppelin album currently. Ironically, it's probably the least heavy of all their albums, which I always thought that made it the weakest album. But over the years, I've grown to like it a lot. Of course, it does have the song that a lot of people say coined the phrase heavy metal, which was the Immigrant Song. Fantastic tune. I loved it in the Thor movie as well. Yeah, some great stuff here. Celebration Day, great tune. Out on the Tiles, I think, is a very good, underrated song. Gallows Pole, probably my favorite track on the album. That's the Way and Tangerine. I like both of them for similar reasons, but different reasons at the same time. To me, this is a strong Zeppelin album. It's my go-to album most of the time now, although I do like Physical Graffiti, which doesn't have a long time with me either, so it's still fairly unburned out. But yeah, great album. Listen to it all the time. It recently made the masterpiece list I think last year was its inauguration year. And then we get to Styx's Equinox, very underrated album. I think doesn't get nearly the notoriety as its big sisters, Pieces of Eight and sorry, drawing a blank on it. Yeah, it's my back's just kind of interfering with my thought process a bit. Anyways, yeah, the Grand Illusion, that's what I was trying to think. So Grand Illusion, Pieces of Eight doesn't really get as much notoriety as those two from that era. And of course, some of the other albums that came out, Cornerstone, Paradise Theater, and the I can't even think of the name of it because I don't know. It's the one Styx album I've no interest in getting. But anyways, it doesn't get the notoriety there either. But it's a fantastic album. It's also the last album with John Kroliski on it, on guitar and vocals on the album. It was the first album on the new label. I do like the cover quite a bit. Fire and Ice. Yeah, really good. The balance between the two. This is a strong album with a lot of heavier stuff. A lot of radio-friendly stuff, too. Sweet Madam Blue, Lorelei, and Lonely Child all getting a fair bit of attention on the radio. Dennis DeYoung, all vocaled by him. This is one of his best vocaled albums as well. My particular favorite on this album is probably Born for Adventure. Something about this track just really captivates me. Although I do love Sweet Madam Blue. Kind of reminds me of my favorite Styx song, which is Queen of Spades. It's got a little bit of that going on. Light Up is also a interesting track as well. Midnight Ride, kind of a heavier tune on the album. This is a JY vocal song. I think it's fantastic. Most of the stuff on here is by Dennis DeYoung's vocals, although you do have a couple of John Kroliski vocal songs on here as well. And I think the album probably would have done better commercially had it been promoted better. I just think that was one of the weaknesses of it. But overall, great album. I love it a lot. It's grown with me over the last 4 years to even be better than I originally thought. So now it's time to rank them. I try to do this fairly concisely. So I'm going to put them in the order that I have them. So it was close for the first place, and it was close for last place. So the two albums at the bottom were pretty close to each other. Could have gone either way. I think it's just a matter of how I felt about them on that particular day. So Van Halen's Fair Warning will go at the bottom. Not because it's a bad album, but just I wasn't feeling it when I listened to it. It didn't really do anything for me as much as it used to do. And therefore, I had to give it a little bit of a lower rating than probably it would have done if I'd done this maybe 20 years ago. Probably might even have been at the top. But now it's going to come in fourth. Number 3, Led Zeppelin's 3. This was, if I'd done this last year, it might have won this, could have won this. But it's faded a tiny bit over the last year or so because it played it so much. And I just think that I don't like it as much as I did maybe a year or so ago. So it's just faded just a tiny bit, though. But not enough to finish below the Van Halen. So Led Zeppelin 3 in third place. Number 2, yes, I love this album a lot, but I've played it a lot too. Probably more than a lot of this band's albums over the last year or so. And it's continually grown with me to the point where I made it a masterpiece album not too long ago. and that's Dark Side of the Moon. It's probably my second favorite Pink Floyd album. I think it probably is. Only Animals would be higher up than this, but it's still a great album. I love it. One of my go-to albums when I go to Pink Floyd. So it's going to finish second, and it only got nudged out because I just happened to enjoy this one a little bit more when I listened to it the other day. So Styx's Equinox will win this by a hair over Dark Side of the Moon, and we'll go on to the next round, to the semifinals. I think this is the first Styx album to get through, but I can't remember what I did on the first one. I'm just going to take a quick look here. I don't think I ran the other ones. No, so far it's been Alive, Close to the Edge, Ace Frehley's Solo, Selling England by the Pound, Foxtrot, so a couple from Genesis, and then one from Rush and Permanent Waves. So this will be the first Styx album to go through, and I'm sure there'll be at least one more. No doubt about that. But we'll see what happens. Funnier things happen. I actually thought when I was selecting these albums for it that Dark Side of the Moon might win this, but I think the Styx album just held my interest a little bit more yesterday when I listened to it. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Battle of the Masterpiece albums, and please hit the like and subscribe. If you want to rank these according to how you might like them, if they were your masterpiece albums, you can do that as well. Just keep in mind that these are my own particular ones. I'm not suggesting that Equinox is a better album than Dark Side of the Moon. I don't want anybody to get that idea. That's not what I'm suggesting. This is just how I feel about them. Anyways, I'm happy to have had you here today. I'll try to get the other video out tonight. It depends on my back, but it's holding up right now. Sorry, a little bit of a move there. So I will see you all later. Take care and have yourself a good day and a good evening. Bye.